Good morning from Athens, Greece. I am coming to you from central Athens at a church and a metro stop known as St. John's. Aios Ioannis. Let's talk about some news. And we have got to talk about the big story, which is the Astana Troika meeting in Tehran, Iran, Russia, Turkey, and Iran. And they were discussing Syria, as well as the Fair World Order, the BRICS, the Shanghai Cooperative Organization, the SCO, and the structure of this parallel new world architecture. There were also statements made with regards to the U.S. military in Syria, as well as statements with regards to Ukraine and NATO. But before we get to that big story, we have to do an update on Nord Stream 1 Gazprom force majeure, because this story has taken a very interesting twist in the last 24 hours. So the reports coming out yesterday, according to Reuters and anonymous sources, as well as documentation that they had obtained and studied, was that after a 10-day scheduled maintenance of Nord Stream 1, and given the Canada, Germany, Siemens turbine debacle and Gazprom's doubts that that turbine was properly repaired or would function properly, that Gazprom was going to be cutting off the gas flows to Germany via Nord Stream 1, citing force majeure. And this created a whole lot of panic in Germany and the European Union, as well as the markets. And this was seen as a major first retaliation from Russia against the European Union. Fast forward to yesterday evening, Wednesday morning, and we have another Reuters story. Once again, we're sticking with Reuters here, citing anonymous sources which claim that Russia will resume natural gas deliveries via Nord Stream 1 pipeline as scheduled once annual maintenance work is completed on Thursday. Once again, this is from Reuters. The story doesn't end there. The Wall Street Journal, at the same time that Reuters was running this article saying that the gas was indeed going to resume via Nord Stream 1, the Wall Street Journal ran a report that said that the European Commission did not expect the Nord Stream 1 pipeline to restart on the target date of July 21st. So, the scenario is as such. Reuters, citing anonymous sources and documentation obtained from Gazprom, was reporting that gas flow via Nord Stream 1, specifically to Germany, was going to be shut down on Thursday, July 21st, after this scheduled maintenance was completed. And given the reasons I cited earlier with regards to the turbines and the uncertainty coming from Gazprom that those turbines were properly repaired. That is thread number one. That is story number one. Reuters, citing anonymous sources, is reporting that on Thursday, when the 10-day scheduled maintenance is completed, the gas via Nord Stream 1 will flow at a reduced capacity. Reuters is saying it'll flow at a reduced capacity, but nonetheless will flow to Germany and the EU. No problems whatsoever. No problems with the turbine. No force majeure. None of that stuff. Всё хорошо. Everything is okay. Everything back to normal. Wall Street Journal reports that, according to their anonymous sources at the European Commission, the office of Ursula von der Leyen, that the European Commission believes gas will not flow on Thursday, July 21st, after the scheduled maintenance is completed. Which story do you believe? Let me know in the comments section down below. Let's wait until Thursday, July 21st, and we will know the truth as to what is happening. What could be going on here? Let's break it down a bit. What could be going on? Perhaps Reuters just has crappy sources. That could be option number one. They have sources in and around the Kremlin at Gazprom that don't know what the hell they're talking about. That could be a possibility. Perhaps the documentation that Reuters claims it studied and it read, citing Gazprom force majeure, perhaps Reuters didn't understand that documentation. Maybe their Russian or their German is a bit sketchy. That's an option. That's a possibility. So we could say that option number one is that Reuters has some really crappy anonymous sources. Option number two could be that Russia, the Kremlin, maybe they are messing around with Reuters. Maybe they are messing around with the collective West. Perhaps they're sending a message to the European Union and to Germany. Don't mess around with us because, we could turn off the gas flow any time we want. And this is just kind of a taste of what awaits Germany and the European Union if they continue to mess around with Russia and with sanctions and come out with statements about the war in Ukraine like those made from Olaf Scholz and Borrell and stuff like that. So maybe this was the Kremlin getting some sources to report to Reuters that the gas is going to be cut off, while at the same time getting other sources to say, no, everything is okay. So maybe this is a bit of a warning, a bit of a troll, a bit of cat and mouse, Russia being the cat and the European Union and Germany being that little mouse, and Russia is just kind of playing around while sending a warning to Germany and the European Union. That could be a very possible explanation of what is going on as well. Or you could have another option, which could be a very cynical kind of explanation, which is that Reuters is throwing out these stories, this kind of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, this FUD, and they're throwing it out there in order to get some energy stocks pumping. Because when the story broke from Reuters, contradicting the earlier story from Reuters, that the gas was indeed going to start flowing on July 21st, a lot of energy and gas and oil stocks really pumped. They went up. And so maybe this was just kind of a cynical way to get a nice little pump in the energy stock market. Possibility. Possible. What do you think in the comments down below? Am I missing another narrative? Maybe it's something else to explain this type of uncertainty in reporting. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm interested to see what you think. I personally believe that Russia and the Kremlin may have been playing around a little with the European Union and Germany. And I believe that the gas will flow on Thursday via Nord Stream 1. That's my hunch. I'm not 100%, but I'm just kind of leaning towards the gas flowing again via Nord Stream 1 to Germany. And I think this was all just kind of the Kremlin playing around, perhaps, sending a warning shot. But the next time that the European Union decides to mess around with Russia or to come out with these big, bold statements about the war in Ukraine and how Ukraine will not negotiate and sanctions will never be rolled back. Those were the statements from Olaf Scholz. Sanctions will never be rolled back, and there will be no peace unless the peace is on Ukrainian terms and Russia is defeated on the battlefield. I think the next time you start getting statements like that coming out of EU officials and leaders of European countries like Germany, then perhaps Russia may indeed cut off the oil via Nord Stream 1. So this may have been a first type of warning. That's where I'm leaning towards. But it could be force majeure as well. It could be no gas flowing on Thursday. Hopefully we will find out in the next day what the truth is. So I will leave that story there. I am looking forward to hearing your opinion on what has been a very interesting 24 hours with regards to Nord Stream 1 and Gazprom. Siemens, turbines, Trudeau, Schultz, and all of these threads in this narrative. So we'll leave it there, and we will move on to the Astana Troika. But before we get to the Astana Troika, there is another story of contradiction, of uncertainty coming out from the European Union. And this has to do with Hungary and reports that Hungary had changed its mind with regards to weapons moving through Hungarian territory into Ukraine. And this was a story that was supposedly floated out by Hungary's Deputy Foreign Minister, Magyar Levente, who reportedly communicated the change in Budapest's official position to the local mayor of Lviv. Hungary will no longer block the transit of foreign weapons and other military aid intended for Kiev through its territory, according to Ukrainian media on Tuesday, citing Lviv City Council. The western Ukrainian city was visited by Hungary's Deputy Foreign Minister, Magyar Levente, who reportedly communicated the change in Budapest's official position to the local mayor. Hungary itself will not send weapons to Ukraine, but third countries can use our territory, Levente was quoted as saying by the Lviv authorities. Budapest will also open its hospitals to Ukrainian military personnel and civilians while providing 1,000 scholarships for Ukrainians at Hungarian universities, according to the report. So we get this report from a Hungarian official who communicated with a Lviv city official that Hungary is going to allow weapons to cross its territory to enter Ukraine, as well as providing a whole bunch of other assistance to Ukraine, military and non-military assistance to Ukraine. And then 24 hours later, we get a story saying that Hungary is not going to be allowing weapons to cross over its territory into Ukraine. Hungary's position on deliveries of foreign weapons to Ukraine through its territory has not changed, the foreign ministry in Budapest said on Tuesday evening in a statement. Earlier in the day, authorities in the western Ukraine city of Lviv claimed the visiting deputy foreign minister had told them otherwise. Quote, "We do not send soldiers or weapons to Ukraine, and we do not allow weapons to cross the Hungarian-Ukrainian border," said Foreign Ministry spokesperson Baxole Mate. Not a single weapon delivery has crossed the Hungarian-Ukrainian border, and this will not change in the future, as this possesses a security risk to the area of Transcarpathia and would endanger the safety of Hungarian people. The policy has been clear from the beginning and remains unchanged, Mate added. So any news portal that circulates a statement to the contrary is publishing incorrect information. Okay, so was the Hungarian deputy foreign minister talking out of context? Did the Hungarian deputy foreign minister make false statements to the Lviv city official? Was that what happened? Did the Lviv city official misunderstand the Hungarian deputy foreign minister and run with the story that Hungary was going to allow weapons to flow into Ukraine? Is that the other possibility? Is Ukrainian media just making stuff up? That's another possibility. Either way, we now have the official statement coming out of the foreign ministry of Hungary saying that the policy is unchanged there will be no military equipment crossing from Hungary into Ukraine. That is the official statement coming out of the Hungarian Foreign Ministry. So with that said, let's talk about Putin's trip to Iran, a very important trip to Tehran, and it was made even more important with the fact that Erdogan also showed up, and you had a meeting of the Astana Troika, Russia, Turkey, and Iran, and Syria was on the table, as well as a whole bunch of other economic and geopolitical issues. And a couple of things with regards to Syria. The three countries decided that they would work together to fight terrorism. That was one of the major outcomes of this meeting. The other outcome was that Russia has called on the United States to leave Syria. Putin himself actually said that the U.S. needs to stop stealing oil from the Syrian people and state. The three guarantors of the Astana process agreed that the U.S. should leave the Trans-Euphrates and stop making the humanitarian crisis in Syria worse with their unilateral actions. Putin told reporters on Tuesday evening that American troops must leave the territory east of the Euphrates River and stop robbing the Syrian state, the Syrian people, exporting oil illegally. And Putin said that this was a common position of Russia, Iran, and Turkey. And that is big news because this is a common position of Turkey. Turkey is a NATO member. And Turkey, according to the statements from Putin, is on record saying that the United States needs to leave Syria and needs to stop stealing Syrian oil and stop illegally occupying Syria. That is a very, very big deal. And we had another statement from Iran saying that the war in Ukraine would have started if it was not stopped by Russia. A NATO war in Ukraine would have started if it was not stopped by Russia. And the Iranian Supreme Leader Khamenei declared on Tuesday that had Russian President Vladimir Putin not taken the initiative in Ukraine, the NATO alliance would have launched a war with Russia over Crimea, which Kiev claims as its own land. The Iranian leader stated that as regards Ukraine, if you, Russia, did not take the initiative, the other side would have initiated the war, describing the West as completely opposed to a strong and independent Russia and NATO as a dangerous entity that sees no boundaries in its expansionist policy. The Iranian leader added that had they not been stopped in Ukraine, they would have launched the same war sometime later under the pretext of the Crimea issue. So you had a lot of interesting outcomes and statements coming out of this Astana meeting, this Astana Troika meeting. The other big outcome of this meeting is, of course, BRICS and the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperative Organization, and just basically the overall structure of a parallel financial and economic system that is being put in place, and how Iran, Turkey are being walked into that system, are being ushered into that new parallel financial world order, that fair world order, starting with the SCO and also leading into BRICS. Turkey has said that it's interested in joining BRICS. Iran is also slated to join BRICS as well. Iran is also joining the SCO. And just basically you had these three countries sitting down and planning out their next steps as they enter this new parallel financial world system. So we'll leave it there with this meeting in Iran between Russia, Turkey, and Iran, the host, Iran. Big news. a whole world order, a whole new fair world order is being built, while the collective West continues to commit suicide on the hill that is known as Ukraine. They're completely engulfed with Ukraine, while Russia, fighting a conflict in Ukraine, is also out doing all kinds of business and building an entirely new parallel system to that of the West. Very interesting times we live in. Let's do, before we get to a clown world, I was going to say let's do a clown world. But there is one more story that I want to get to, and that is that the European Union has announced that they are going to be centralizing the purchase of military equipment. And this is an interesting story. In what is called a historic step, the European Commission agreed on Tuesday to a 500 million euro, $512 million plan that would allow EU members to jointly procure weapons to address the urgent need to replenish a defense products deficit stemming from the Ukraine conflict. The proposal is supposed to incentivize at least 3 EU members to buy weapons jointly. The body said in a statement it also seeks to avoid competition among the bloc's members for the same products and facilitate cost savings. The measure is expected to be financed by EU funds for the next 2 years. Today, we are taking a historic step forward in European defense integration as war rages on at Europe's borders. We are responding to the call of EU heads of state by presenting today a new instrument to support the joint acquisition of weapons, said Thierry Breton, the EU Commissioner for the Internal Market. And this is really, really interesting. The EU now is going to be centralizing the purchasing of weapons. This is exactly the type of stuff that Brussels absolutely loves. You're going to take the purchasing of weapons away from the member states. You're going to centralize it to Brussels. So the more the EU moves towards collapse, the more the EU is trying to tighten its grip, the more it's trying to centralize everything. And something like this is really good for the kleptocrats in the European Union, because they're going to be making a whole ton of money from the procurement of weapons. A whole ton of money, and corruption is going to be taking place, but it's going to be centralized to the elite at the European Union headquarters, and it's not going to be going to the individual member states. So that is big, big news. And of course, the excuse for this centralization of the purchasing of military equipment is what else? Putin, Russia, Ukraine. That is the perfect excuse in order to centralize the purchasing of military equipment. Of course, the military-industrial complex, they're going to be absolutely happy with this. More money flowing to the MIC. Let's do a clown world and wrap up this video. And this clown world has to do with, with Biden. And the fact that the place where Biden fell off his bicycle has now been pinned on Google Maps, and it's being named Brandon Falls. And this has now become an actual pinned location, pinned place on Google Maps. I believe in Delaware, if I'm not mistaken. So you remember Biden's bike ride episode where the press was put in place to greet Biden after he was done with a rigorous, bike ride to show how healthy and how energetic he is, and the media was right there, questions already pre-prepared and ready to go, and Biden rolls in, and he's just about to engage with the media. He stops his bike. He's about to engage with the media, and as he tries to kind of get off his bike, his foot gets stuck, and his bike just kind of falls on the side. And that video, of course, went viral. because it wasn't the fact that Biden fell off his bike. It was the fact that they had staged this entire thing. Everything was staged and everyone was in place. The media was in place. Biden was told what to do. Everything was in place for this staged kind of interaction between Biden and the media after he was done taking this energetic and vigorous bike ride. And the whole thing fell apart because Biden fell off his bike when the bike was in a stationary position. And now we have the location of this fall in Delaware pinned on Google Maps. And it will forever be known as Biden Falls. And I do believe it's Delaware. Let me know if I'm wrong. But either way, if it's not Delaware and it's somewhere else in the United States, just go to Google Maps, type in Brandon Falls, and you'll get the pinned location right there. So that is the clown world for the day. I was going to talk about the Stephen King interview that he did with, what are their names? Lexus and Vovis, I believe. They were banned off of YouTube. They're like the pranksters that call up celebrities and leaders, and they get them to say all kinds of stupid stuff. And celebrities and leaders, being the dummies that they are, always say stupid stuff. And I forgot their name. I believe it's, one sec, let me see. Let me see if I have the name handy here. I believe it was, yeah, Vovan and Lexus. Yeah, so they did an interview with Stephen King, and Stephen King was like, yeah, you know, Viva Ukraine, and Bandera's a cool guy, and all of these things. They got Stephen King to say all kinds of nonsense. He actually compared Bandera to the U.S. founding fathers, which I thought was kind of shocking, because obviously Stephen King has no idea who Stepan Bandera is. He has no clue who he is. He was just kind of just agreeing with whatever the Russian pranksters were saying. But then for him to compare Bandera to the U.S. founding fathers, my God, what a mess of an interview that was. Look it up. Look for the video. You'll find it. It's really funny. I was going to make that my clown world, but I decided to go with Brandon Falls. But I guess I have made. I've made the Stephen King interview a clown world, so I kind of made it into a clown world as well because I just talked about it. Anyway, that's the video for the day. Let's step inside real quick and give you guys a view. Beautiful, beautiful church. All right, I will leave it there, everybody. I'm coming to you from St. John's, Ios Ioannis Cathedral, as well as Metro Stop here. Oh, in Athens, Greece. And I will leave it there. Check out Alexander's channel. Check out the Duran's channel. Alexander did a really good deep dive into the Astana Troika meeting in Iran. So I definitely recommend that. You'll get a lot more context than what I've provided. But check out that channel. Check out Duran. We had a great live stream with Anya yesterday on the Duran, and we have a lot of good videos coming out there, and definitely the Duran.locals.com, and Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, and Telegram. Check out our Telegram channel. I'm going to grab a coffee here at Luigi's Coffee. Take care.